WXOS HD1 East St. Louis 101 ESPN is driven by Brown and Crouppen Law Firm. It's time for the First Community Credit Union Blues postgame show.
Presented by Scott Lee Heating Company and Urban Chestnut Brewing Company on 101 ESPN.
Moments like that, you're starting to see what Logan Mayhew is all about and why they loved him and got him. Here's Mayhew right here. Big fight here. Here we go.
Mayhew and Doc. Colton Doc, Logan Mayhew. Right on the blue note at center ice. A little Friday night Blues Blackhawks fight in the center circle. Mayhew with a right. Doc trying to jab with a couple of his rights. Mayhew swings a big one around. Another big one. Doc comes in with an uppercut. Trying to switch hands. They stay to the rights. Mayhew takes some free. Arms are tied up, and they wrestle each other to the ice. And there we go, Blues and Blackhawks.
Here's Dylan Holloway. Here we go, Dylan Holloway.
He and Connor Murphy are going to fight way away from the ice. So Holloway with a swing. They get a hold of each other. Murphy now as they lock each other up. They both took a swing.
It just felt good, right? It just felt right to have a Chicago Blackhawks game with some fights in it, because if I'm remembering this correctly, that one back on October 15th when the Blues lost 8-3, yeah, no fights in that one, and hard to have fights in that one, as by the middle of the second period, the Blues were already down 5-2. Before the end of the second period, they were down 5-2 and then opened up down 7-2 5 minutes in. So they were looking for a rematch. Mayhew even told Curbs and Joey that after the game, that they were looking to respond, not only after that 7-2 loss against the Nashville Predators last night, where Braden Shen called their play soft, rightfully so, and then, of course, the rematch from the Blackhawks earlier this season. Welcome, everyone, into our fourth period on your home for the Blues 101 ESPN. It's brought to you by First Community Credit Union and powered by Scott Lee Heating Company and Urban Chestnut Brewing Company. Alex Ferrario back with you up here in our broadcast booth inside Enterprise Center, where the Blues took down Chicago 3-2. And a great response for a team that played poorly against the Nashville Predators last night, did everything that Jim Montgomery had wanted them to do in Nashville tonight against this Blackhawks squad. We'll get into it momentarily with our Ted Drew's 3 takeaways, but we are up on our YouTube channel at 101 ESPN STL. If you want to join the conversation over there, we've got our chat you can jump in on. We call it the Graveyard over on BK and Ferrario, so you can jump in there. You can text us 314-399-9646. That's our Air Comfort Service text line. Or you can tweet me or X me at Ferrario101 ESPN. That seems weird to say X. I just typically say tweet. But we'll go with X because that's what it's called now. But that's the way you can get on the conversation tonight. We're going to hear from Jim Montgomery in our next segment as he'll meet with the media in just a bit. We'll have our final look in this one as we'll look ahead also to their next game when they take on that Nashville Predators squad once again. And we're also going to hear from Logan Mayhew coming up in a bit with our soundbite of the night. But before we do any of that, let's dive right into our takeaways.
It's time for tonight's 3 takeaways.
Let it snow.
Presented by Ted Drew's Christmas Trees, where tradition tastes great and the holidays feel right at home.
First takeaway is the style that they played tonight. I mean, this was the style that they talked about that they need when they're going through all of these injuries. And frankly, I feel like it's the style that they need to win hockey games with the players that they have. When they show that physical prowess, it just pulls everybody into the fight. I mean, Jim Montgomery has mentioned in the past, how they have to go out and fight for each other, and that draws people in. The Ottawa Senators game, I feel like, was just a perfect example of the Blues playing to their style. And it's unfortunate that they weren't able to build off of that against the Boston Bruins, because they had a heck of a set of back-to-backs for Ottawa and Montreal, which, side note for you, Jordan Deacon and I have had these conversations in terms of the back-to-backs this season. In their 6 games of back-to-back, they have won 2 games in their back-to-backs of the first game. So the first game of back-to-backs and 6 back-to-backs, the Blues have won 2 of them. But in the second game of their back-to-backs, they've won 4. And typically that second one is the more difficult one, especially when you look at, of the 6 back-to-backs that the Blues have played, the first one has happened on the road 5 of the 6 times. And only 2 of those back-to-backs have all been on the road. So that means 4 of their 6 back-to-backs, 3 of their 6 back-to-backs have started on the road, and then they've returned home. In 24 hours, they've gone from the road to back home. And they found a way to win 4 of those 6 games on home ice. I know I just threw a ton of math problems at you. Basically, what I'm saying is the more difficult portion of the back-to-backs, the Blues have won a majority of those games. And they've done so with travel involved. And I think a lot of it stems from how they played this game. You look at the Ottawa Senators one. You look at the Montreal Canadiens game. You go back and look at how they played in that Buffalo Sabres game. Some of these, your goaltending stood on their head. But tonight was their physical prowess initiating the domination of their own crease and, frankly, the offensive zone crease. I know they didn't score their goals from standing in front of the net, but they had traffic. They created chaos. But, man, I look at the heat map over on Natural Stat Trick, which judges or measures where the scoring opportunities have come from for the opponent and for the Blues. It's basically white in front of the goal crease in Chicago's end, or the Blues' end. So defensively, the Blues did a really decent job of keeping things to the outside, and I think a lot of that stems from how physical they were and how much they enacted their dominance in front of both sides of the ice. So that's a massive takeaway because we talked about it in pregame. We heard Jim Montgomery mention in pregame of how they showed video on how they need to play that style against Nashville. They didn't do it. Got called soft by Braden Shen, and then they came out tonight and they enacted that dominance on the ice. Second takeaway is Logan Mailloux. This was one of those games, and I think Jim Montgomery mentioned him last week, I believe, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Somebody asked, what he thinks is different for Logan Mailloux, and he talked about how much more confident he is and how much he jumps up into the rush and how much he's showing his physicality on the ice. But he also said, he hit a little bit of a wall there for a couple of games. I think it was that Ducks game to the Boston Bruins game. This was back to the Logan Mailloux that we saw when he came back up from the American Hockey League. I mean, tonight for Logan Mailloux, played 13 minutes and 17 seconds. All of that was at even strength, by the way. Did not play power play or penalty kill, which no penalty kill, only 1 power play. But he had 4 shot attempts tonight, 2 shots on goal, picked up 2 takeaways, had 1 blocked shot, had the fight. He's very noticeable with his physicality. Offensively, it's why he was a first-round pick. He's got a heck of a shot and a heavy shot. And he knows when to jump into the rush, and he knows how to get pucks on net. And the style that he gets pucks on net by are interesting as well because, they're not those high buzzers that go at the earlobes of the goaltenders. They're kind of those lower shots into the midsections, the one that can get those deflections with traffic in front of the net. But you saw how hard that shot can be and how it can catch goalies off guard when he takes it from the sides. That's how he scored the 1 goal in the American Hockey League. So you could feel the confidence growing there with Logan Mailloux on the offense, and it was kind of like a burden off the back there, as you heard him mention, or if you missed it, we'll play it for you momentarily. It was a burden off the back of just getting that first one and feeling like you're contributing. And then from there, the defense is going to continue to go. I really feel like Logan Mailloux is figuring it out. Defense, of course, is a little bit more of a slower progress to figure it out at the NHL level, as we've heard so many former NHL defensemen, Chris Pronger, Al McInnes, all talk about. It takes 200-plus games. But on the offensive side, he's a threat. And that plays into the style that Jim Montgomery likes to play with in terms of those defensemen jumping up into the rush. And then the third takeaway for me tonight was just the depth that the Blues had. Look, you have Mailloux scoring, Matt Luff scoring, Justin Falk scoring. I mean, Hugh McGing tonight had 1 shot on goal. His line had 4 high-danger scoring chances. Oscar Sundqvist had 3 shot attempts tonight. Matt Luff had a couple of shots on goal. All of those guys are your fourth-line players. that contributed in the first couple of periods. Pius Suter had some real chemistry, it felt like, when they had Braden Shen drop down with him. It was Pius Suter, Braden Shen, and then there for a stretch, looked like Matthew Joseph was with them. They moved Robbie Fabry up, and then they kind of juggled those lines around. Robbie Fabry having another effective game as well. 13 minutes, 2 shots on goal, 3 shot attempts, 3 hits and a blocked shot. Also picked up an assist. This was the style of offense that Jim Montgomery always talks about in terms of wave after wave of setting guys up. You have one line out there that's in the offensive zone, and then the next line goes out there, the next line goes out there, and it feels like they're connecting. It feels like connective tissue on the ice. It was the opposite against Nashville last night. Some of that comes from that prowess of being a physical specimen on the ice, but it's also consistency and comfortability with those line combinations. So this was one of those games that it felt like it was suffocating for a while against the Chicago Blackhawks, and that's a credit to the Blues coming off of a bad game against Nashville. Joey mentioned in pregame of how quiet they were on the plane ride home, and they go right back at it today against a Blackhawks team, albeit it's a Blackhawks team that's been struggling as of late. Still a Blackhawks team that has some difference makers, including Connor Bedard, and the Blues went out there and won 3-2 tonight. So those are my Ted Drew's 3 takeaways. As always, we want to hear yours. Again, you could send them over on the YouTube chat, 101 ESPN STL on YouTube, or you can text them to me, 314-399-9646. But before we go anywhere else, let's get tonight's soundbite of the night and take you back to the conversation that Chris Kerber and Joe Vitale had with Joey's #1 star of the game.
The soundbite of the night is presented by Rocket Convenience Stores. Fuel your car and your daily cravings at Rocket Convenience Stores.
Logan, congratulations on the victory here tonight. And I asked you before the game as you were walking in, that first official regular season game with the Blackhawks. What do you think about this rivalry that we've got?
Yeah, I mean, I forgot about the last one, actually, but at home, but we owed them one for sure. So
so did I, too, actually.
Yeah, so, but no, 100%. But it feels good to beat them and get that win, so that's a big one for us.
Logan, from last night to tonight, just a completely different team, almost a 180 switch. What was the biggest thing you guys wanted to focus on here tonight?
I think just playing a full solid 60 minutes, getting pucks to the goal line, kind of playing Blues hockey and playing our identity. So I thought we did it for the whole game tonight, so it was fun.
Well, you got your first goal as a Blue. You got your first fight as a Blue. Come on, be honest with me. Which one felt better?
I don't know. The fans make it so great here, but definitely felt good to get the monkey off the back for sure.
Hey, Logan, since coming back up from Springfield, what has felt most comfortable for you?
I think just playing more of my game, playing with some more confidence, moving my feet, moving pucks, shooting pucks, and being hard to play against.
And offense, it is just getting comfortable, isn't it? Because it can be a hard league to play on that back end.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, the guys have been great here. I've been playing with Cam for a bit now, so he's been awesome helping me out. So, but just definitely felt good to get that one tonight.
There you go. That's Logan Mailloux with Chris Kerber and Joe Vitale after the game tonight as he picked up a goal and in a fight just missed that assist for a Gordie Howe hat trick. And boy, the Blues fans were appreciative of how Logan Mailloux played tonight. How about this one? Robert Thomas becomes the 9th player in St. Louis Blues history to factor on 80 game-winning goals. 19 goals, 61 assists. 80 game-winning goals he's been a part of, and it's the 4th most, like I mentioned. He ties Alex Pietrangelo behind Bernie Fedorko, who had 86 of them, Brett Hall, who had 66 of them, and Pavel Demitra, who had 62 of them. So 61st time that Robert Thomas has factored on a game-winning goal. We'll take a break. Let's come back, and we'll hear from Jim Montgomery. We'll get his thoughts, and then we'll have our final look before we shut it down. It's the 4th period as the Blues defeat the Blackhawks tonight 3-2 on your home for the Blues, 101 ESPN. Final time here on our St. Louis Blues extended postgame show, the fourth period. Here on your home for the Blues, 101 ESPN. A little update for everybody. Connor Bedard, who left the game, not left the game. He was there on that last face-off when the whistle blew, and as the Blackhawks exited the ice, he was holding his arm, his shoulder, something like that. This was from Jeff Blashill, their head coach. Bedard won't play tomorrow versus Detroit. He said another update is expected on Monday. Their head coach called it a freak accident. And just watching the replay, it does look like it just kind of caught Bedard at the worst spot. Braden Shen just killed the play. Drops the puck, stick checks Bedard, and then just kind of shoves him down so he can't get that loose puck. Bedard's falling backwards in the midst of it all, and so you can just kind of see Braden Shen's stick get caught on the arm. So kind of second what Blashill's saying there of a freak accident. It's not like a forceful play by Braden Shen where he was trying to injure him, he was trying to kill the play, and he just gets tied up there by the Blues captain. So that's your update on Connor Bedard. As again, he won't play tomorrow. Says they'll have an update on Monday after that face-off. Let's hear from Jim Montgomery and get his thoughts after his team's 3-2 win.
It's time to hear from the head coach, Jim Montgomery, presented by Fisher Window and Door Store, offering quality American-made Marvin windows and doors. Visit their showrooms in Brentwood or East Alton, Illinois.
Right from the drop of the puck, you could feel it. Our crowd was into it because our guys were there for each other, rallying around each other. We were connected. We still made mistakes, and that's going to happen in this game because there's another team playing. But the effort and the second and third effort and playing for each other makes up for a lot.
What are the most important ways you see your group playing for each other?
Well, we had 2 fights tonight, but that's not common anymore, but that's part of it, and you see guys driving middle lane, stopping at the net. When defensemen were shooting, we had bodies at the net. Defensemen were pinching pucks, forwards were replacing them. In the D zone, the box outs were hard and heavy at our own net. Getting back, winning goal line races so we can break pucks out quickly. Those kind of things is just effort based, and it's doing the job so someone else doesn't have to do it.
You mentioned the fights. I mean, just how much does it mean just to not have it be Tucker or Shed against other guys and Holloway against it?
Well, it means more because it energizes the bench even more that someone's stepping up like that to fight for our team. That's what they're doing.
Goal side for May, was this as noticeable as he's been both ends of the ice tonight?
No, I think he's had a couple of other games that were very noticeable where his feet were moving like they were tonight. It was great for him. The one thing you could tell is when the goal went in, his next several shifts were just dynamite. He was just playing hockey. He was heavy. He was hard. He was making plays. He was just playing on his instincts, and it was great to see.
May, you mentioned the idea of guys can be physical in their own way, not necessarily having to be physical. How much of a message is that for that group in there? Or has that been for you?
Well, it's a good message by Logan to talking to people. Are physical. People win battles different ways. Some people win them with their physicality. Some people win them with their hands. Some people win them with their brain and their spacing. But it was nice to see how physical we were on the fact that we were on a back-to-back and Chicago wasn't, despite we've played a few more games.
Just with the way last night went, how important was it to have this type of...
It was really important. It was great to see that our leaders led and that our young players and players that have been on call-up, everyone chipped in. It was nice to see everybody again play hard and play for each other.
It's time to take a look back at tonight's game with the final look.
Driven by Pure Performance. Only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
Again, just a great win for the Blues tonight, and taking advantage of the situation they have in front of them with Central Division teams. I do think it's important to lay out there that it's one win. And for the Blues, the inconsistency has been the biggest issue. But I do think Jim Montgomery nailed it. And again, it's an area he's been talking a lot about this season. It's going out there and fighting for each other. You build that camaraderie. Going back to the conversation I had with the Boston Bruins writer when they played the first time last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. He talked about how every single player bought into the message that Marco Sturm was delivering in terms of physicality, hard-nosed, winning battles. They've played that style consistently, and it's what put them in the top 3 in their division. You talk about the Philadelphia Flyers and what's worked for them this season with Rick Tocchet, buying into their message. What's worked for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Some of this is, yes, they have superstars and Crosby and Malkin, but they've bought into the message. What worked so well for the Blues last year was, as Jim Montgomery has put it, they went out there and they fought for each other every single shift. And tonight felt just like they did when they beat the Ottawa Senators. They went out there and they fought for each other every single shift, and they came away with the victory. And that's what they did here tonight. The key for this Blues team is building on it, carrying it over to the next game. And then the next game, and finding a way to get to that elusive 3-game win streak, 4-game win streak, 5-game win streak. Not need to rattle off 12 in a row, but if you can put together 3, 4, 5 of just the consistent style of play, physical, setting the puck up in good areas, winning board battles, going to the front of the net, eliminating the opposition when they go into the middle of the slot. That's where you build a consistent theme of a style of a hockey team. And it's what the Blues have lacked early on. Hopefully they can find and bottle up what they did against Chicago tonight, carry it over against the Nashville Predators. Then you get the Winnipeg Jets before you take on the New York Rangers for another back-to-back set. That game on Monday against Nashville, the team that put 7 up on the Blues yesterday. I have to imagine the times that the Blues have had those rematches this season. They've had a lot of success specifically in the Western Conference. Of course, we're looking at Chicago, and you're looking at what they did against Utah this time around, the second time around when they shut them out following Utah beating them up on home ice earlier this season. That game on Monday, 7 o'clock, puck drop here at Enterprise Center, which means our extended pregame starts at 6 o'clock right here on your home for the Blues 101 ESPN. Once again, a huge thank you to Jim Huer, our on-site engineer, taking care of us this evening, and our great producer, Jordan Deacon, back in our network studios, doing all the heavy lifting for us back there. Once again, I'm Alex Ferrari. I hope everyone has a great night, great weekend. The Blues will be off for a rare weekend, and they'll be back at it on Monday to continue this 4-game homestand, and we'll have that coverage for you right here starting at 6 on your home for the Blues 101 ESPN.
Thanks for listening to the First Community Credit Union Blues postgame show.
Presented by Scott Lee Heating Company and